Welcome everybody. Very glad that you are able to find time for this meeting on how nations succeed working with the grain. I'm David Booth. I'm in the Politics and Governance program here at ODI. It's a great pleasure to introduce this panel. First of all, Brian Levy, who will be talking primarily around his latest book, which is called Working with the Grain. And we've got two excellent discussants to kick off the discussion. One could hardly do better than this panel. I mean, each of these three people has almost single-handedly sort of transformed our thinking about three sort of sets of related things. Brian was for a long time one of the intellectual leaders at the public sector management and politics part of the World Bank, and he, I think, almost single-handedly moved the World Bank away from completely consistent advocacy of best practice institutions everywhere at all times to an approach which he began calling the best fit approach. Since he left the bank, he's been a professor at both the University of Cape Town and the International Studies Center of the Johns Hopkins University in Washington. He's been an active participant in the Effective States and Inclusive Development program led by the University of Manchester. And he's been working on this book, which is, I think, a splendid synthesis, both of the sort of current state of the debate about what best fit approaches might look like, and a kind of intellectual autobiography of how we got to this position, how he got to this position, and how others have been drawn along to a greater or lesser extent. Robert Wade, who's one of our discussants, almost single-handedly transformed our understanding of the East Asian development successes of the 60s, 70s, and 80s with his book Governing the Market.
It's a slight exaggeration.
And earlier on,
only slight.
Early on, he wrote the best empirical analysis of corruption in a public irrigation system in India. Much less discussed, but an extremely important contribution, I think, to that particular field. And Sue Unsworth, who was the chief governance advisor of DFID before she retired, almost single-handedly transformed the way those in and around DFID thought about how to design programs in a way that relates to the real country situation in recipient countries, and she's now an associate of the policy practice, which is a network of people who are signed up to the need to develop better approaches to these problems. So Brian will talk for about 25 minutes about the main themes of his book, and Robert and Sue will have about sort of 10 minutes each, which should give us a good length of time for interaction between you and each of them. The meeting is being streamed, and we have a number of people listening online who may contribute to the discussion at various points. Before we begin, there are just one or two sort of housekeeping points, just to emphasize that this is on the record. So don't say anything you don't want to appear on the web in a couple of days' time. If a fire alarm sounds, it isn't an exercise, and you are encouraged to walk quietly out of the front door that you came through. Please turn off your mobile phones. The toilets are that way next to the lifts. And when you get to contributing, please, all of us and then you, please speak into the microphone so that it streams effectively. So with that, I think without further ado, I'll ask Brian to kick us off. What's this all about, Brian?